Okay, Satema, the first thing we got to think about is your knee is more than likely hurting because of the ankle that's underneath it. I'm going to assume that this motion, which is called dorsiflexion, is not normal. I need you to test. There's a number of ways to test it, but this is what I think is simple and will get you to the ballpark for sure. Just make a fist, put your fist up against the wall, put your toe up against that fist, and you should be able to, with your heel down, touch your knee to the wall relatively effortlessly. Now, if you're touching it, but you feel like you're fighting a lot to get it there, that doesn't count. It needs to be like that, pretty free and easy. Now, my shoes are on. I would recommend you do it barefoot because my heel could be coming up inside the shoe and I may not be aware of it. So when you're barefoot, you just take your hands of the other one and put it up against your heel. And if your heel starts to lift, your fingers will start to tuck under. You'll see that. So you want to be at least the width of your foot away with relative ease for your knee to touch the wall. I'm guessing you're not going to be able to do that. And I'm guessing when you try to do that, you're going to feel it back here somewhere, okay? This is the stuff back when I wanted to connect with you when it was, I don't remember, last fall, I guess, last winter, to assess that. It can still be changed, so don't stress. But if this is our problem, even though your pain is up here, we need to spend time here, okay? So that's the first thing I want to go over with you. You need to be able to do that. Then I'm going to show you a couple of tricks for this area, and then I'm going to show you a couple of tricks for motor control up here at your hip. Your knee, it sounds like, is coming, your knee pain rather, it sounds like it's coming from your knee cap. And that is, if that's the case, your kneecap's kind of always a victim between the ankle below it and the hip above it. So I'm going to show you a drill for that next, and then a drill for these. Stay tuned. Okay, Satema, what we're going to do is we're going to use one of these sticks. I assume you have one. If you don't, use a golf club. If you're using a golf club, keep in mind golf clubs don't slide on skin very well, so wear long pants or high socks. One of these will work either way on skin or fabric just fine. We're going to do what we call seek and destroy. And for a guy like you, I better remind you, destroy's got air quotes around it, all right? So be gentle, have respect for your tissues. We hold this thumb and finger like this, not like that. You have a ton of leverage with the stick, so we want to be respectful of that. And we are going to roll the roller stick everywhere that's not bone, on the back and on the sides. And in fact, even in the front, believe it or not, can make a difference. So all of that with gentle pressure all the way around. Light pressure to begin, and if light pressure feels like nothing to you, then you've earned the right to go medium pressure. If medium pressure feels like nothing to you, then and only then have you learned, or earned rather, the right to put hard pressure there. You're going to create the perception of threat if you go in there and just say, screw it, I'm going to get this now, okay? The body won't let you win that way. It's important to understand the rules. Don't create threat. Soft pressure, one finger and thumb, really easy until all of that feels fine. If there's one particular spot, and there may very well be, that feels like it needs attention, then you just focus your attention there. That's what we mean by seek and destroy. Seek out those spots, find those spots, and then work on those spots with real focused attention wherever they may be. If you go throughout and you really don't feel any spot particularly, then you can try the heavier pressure, as I said. So we try to have people think of rules of three levels of pressure and 3 surfaces, which is the backside, the sides, and the front. So just kind of way of remembering that, but don't get too beefy with it. Be softer than you think you need to. You get better results that way. All right, my man, this is what we use in the clinic all the time. It's just a wedge block of rubber. You're gonna mimic that at home with what you have. The idea is that goes on the ground, and then you step on it with your left foot. Your heel is down, and you bring your right foot towards your toes. Middle knee stays over middle foot. So good alignment looks like this. Bad alignment looks like that. I hope you can appreciate the difference. This is where your knee is going to want to go because that's the compensatory pattern that people who lack dorsiflexion will use. So middle knee over middle foot, you may not get very far, totally fine. So job 1, find a stretch that's less than what you think it needs to be. Hold that stretch. Now, in about 10 seconds, you should feel that stretch lessen or melt. That's your nervous system no longer perceiving the stretch as threatening. When that happens, take up the slack and wait again. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you never felt that, your stretch is probably too strong to start, so back off. So go to where it's just barely noticeable, then hang out. 10 or so seconds later, it should feel like it melts a little. When that does, take up the slack, wait another 10 seconds or so. When that melts, take up the slack and so on, and just keep going as long as your body keeps giving. For most folks, that's about 2 minutes. Another way you can say it is hold your stretch for 2 minutes. But if you're just mindlessly holding the same spot for 2 minutes, you're not getting all that you can. So find your spot, wait for the threat to go away, or if it doesn't change, assume the stretch is too strong and back off and try again. If you've lost your sensation in that area and you're hearing what I'm saying, but you just can't feel it, then that's fine. Just make it the smallest stretch you can notice and wait out 2 minutes. You're still gonna get somewhere good. So then we are stretching. The only caveat is you should not feel any binding or pinching in the front. If you do, that's a joint limitation and we tackle that differently. Right now, we're assuming you have soft tissue tightness in the back, and this is how we do that stretch. Have that wedge underneath your foot and just go like that. Assuming you don't have a Kaltenborn wedge, you take a small kettlebell, put it on the ground like that. There's your wedge, okay? Just something like that, that your foot is underneath it, not your toes, your forefoot. Good luck. Okay, so Tema, the last thing we're gonna do now, after softening it up with the roller stick, and after lengthening it with the stretch with that wedge shape underneath your foot, we're gonna use the newly gained range of motion, which is kind of how you keep it. So the first two was work. The first two you did were work to get something. You're gonna lose most of it if you don't use it. So this is how we keep it. Sometimes we joke, it's like when you're typing on your computer, you gotta hit save on the document, otherwise you lose your work. This is like hitting save on your document, okay? What we're gonna do is just a step down. What that means is you're gonna get on your left side after you've done your soft tissue and your stretch, balance, and just touch that right knee, or right foot rather, I can talk, that right foot to the floor, just smooth and easy as that. If that's uncomfortable, and it might be, try, instead of having weight in front of you coming forward, have weight go off to the side. This is so much easier, less stress on your knee. Many people start here and then progress to this as you go, okay? So while you're doing this, you want to try and keep your waistband level, and just like before with everything else, have the middle of your knee tracking the middle of your foot, okay? So lateral step down if need be, forward step down if possible. After the soft tissue work, after the stretch. There you go. Okay, what we're gonna do to get the muscles here to help stabilize, to keep this guy out of trouble here, is depending on what you have. I'm gonna show you with a flat band if you have it, and then I'll show you with like a long exercise band that I'm almost positive you have. If you've got the flat band, you're gonna have it connected to something down low, and then get a little stretch on it, and then put it under the inside half of your toe. So basically, the inside half of your foot is on that band up here by your toes. Then you're gonna get in this position and do a split squat. Now, with your knee hurting, you may not be excited to go very far. It doesn't, see, I failed. It doesn't need to go very far. You just go through the range that you have. The idea is you're training your big toe to stay connected to the ground. That pressure in the foot is the signal that tells these muscles what to do. I'm gonna set it up again. So I get that stretched, have it under the inside half of my foot. Now, when I get set up to split squat, I have to really concentrate for my big toe to be rock solid into the ground. As soon as I'm not, there it goes. That's feedback. So we're training these things to work together. Okay, assuming you have one of these exercise bands, you'll have to determine the thickness. If it's too thin, it'll be kind of easy and it kind of digs into your leg. If it's too thick, like some of those that Luca has, you can darn near pull a car with it. So you have to try to find something that's not too thick. Hopefully you have one. I'm gonna put my leg in it. Whoop, I'm showing you with my right leg, I just realized. You're gonna do this with your left without having me facing the other way. So same concept, this will be your left leg instead of my right, and it's pulling inward. The idea is the band is going to feed the mistake. You don't want this. The band makes it more obvious, which means your butt muscles have to really come to the rescue. So what you're gonna do is get in that same split squat position, stretch the band out far enough that you feel that the band wants your knee to do that, which probably won't feel good, but it's definitely not good alignment. So get your knee, middle knee over middle foot, and then split squat through the depth, just like with the other one, that your knee is comfortable with, there to there. These are both doing essentially the same thing. It's just, this is really making your knee dive in for your hip to talk. The other one is dialing into your nervous system for your nervous system to recognize that when your foot hits the ground, this should happen naturally. So they're both kind of going after the same one. One is driving it through the sense organ of your foot. The other one is driving it with a little more leverage for your muscles to hear it. So they're both doing the same thing. If they feel very different to you, use them both. If you have a preference, go with the one that feels best. By best, I mean less knee pain or zero knee pain.